Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. This is England preview. My name is Stephen Howson. We're going to get stuck into the reasons why Gareth Southgate has decided to play the system that he has. But first, before we get into that and before we look at the predicted starting 11 that I think that England are going to be playing against Tunisia tonight, let's talk about Gareth Southgate. Let's talk about the expectation. So I think the expectation for this England team is the lowest of any in living memory, and I think it's probably fair in the grand scheme of things. I think this is probably the worst England team, on paper at least, in living memory. But that doesn't mean that this England team can exceed those low expectations. Well, the expectations might be low, but I guarantee if they don't get out of the group, then you're going to see the press turn on this England team very quickly. Now, I think Gareth Southgate is coming out and saying the right things. In the Impossible Job documentary last night, he spoke about his joy about being a player that played under the likes of Hoddle and Venables, and I think that his tactics and his formations have been massively influenced by those, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Both of these England sides was considered weaker than the so-called golden generation of the 2000s, but I think they both embodied a bit of a happier time than the last 20 years watching England and following that England team. I think those sides in 98 and in 96 under Terry Venables and Glenn Hoddle, they played an English style and they played without fear, and they was extremely unlucky both in 98 and in 1996. But the realistic expectation was around at the time, rather than the lofty over-the-top expectation that the England team of the 2000s had. But also, there was no over-the-top crucifixion of the team when they went out. Southgate himself experienced a little bit of backlash when he missed the only penalty in the penalty shootout against Germany in Euro 96, and basically everybody else got away with it in 98. It was Beckham that was vilified by all the press and West Ham fans. But let's talk about the tactics then. So let's look at the reasons why Southgate plays what he plays and what it is that he plays. So he's 100% going to play a back three, but why does Gareth Southgate insist on playing the back three? What's the reasons for it? I think his decision to play a back three is largely influenced by his own experience as a player, as I said earlier, under those managers. Everyone thinks of that Terry Venables team as playing 4-4-2, and I think everyone thinks of that Glenn Hoddle team as playing this weird Christmas tree formation, but essentially they played the same formation. They played 3-5-2 with wing-backs. But I also think it's more influenced by the lack of central midfielders that this England team and squad has got. And because they've got no real quality central midfielders, no one that can hold the ball and move the ball up the thirds, Southgate's done something quite clever, which is essentially bypass that midfield. He uses the back three, and this is the reason why you see ball-playing defenders in this team. He uses the back three to build up the play and get the ball forward to what is England's true asset, which is the quality in that final third. In this 3-5-2 system, he manages to have the defenders step out of defence, bolster that midfield and put the ball, as I said, into the hands or the feet of the players that are going to do the damage. Harry Kane up front, you're going to back him to score some goals. Sterling, movement, incredible, and that's something that England sides have lacked big time. And also Ali and Lingard, who I think will be the ones that you see favoured most of the time in this tournament. That's where England can hurt teams, and that's where England can actually compete on a world stage. The problem is the midfield, and the problem, as we get into the latter stages, might be the defence. The high press that Southgate likes to employ benefits this system massively as well, because if England can take possession off a team between their defensive midfield and sort of defenders, then what you're going to see is England immediately hit with a counter-attack and pace and players, essentially. Too often that you see a team win a ball and not have a clue what to do with it or who to give it to, whereas that's not the case in this England team. If they win the ball in your third, there's already 2 or 3 players that they can give the ball to and they can go and make something happen. It's pretty smart. It's pretty smart by bypassing the midfield, because England don't want to get involved in the midfield battle against some of those bigger teams. If they come up against the German midfield, they're going to lose. If they come up against the French midfield, they're going to lose. Even the Brazilian team, not known for the strongest midfield, it's better than England's. So England have to completely bypass this and play to their own strengths. And I think what Southgate's doing is pretty smart, but it does have its limitations. From a pure pure defensive standpoint, Jordan Henderson is going to get completely overrun when a team wants to have more possession than England, significantly more possession than England. If we come up against Spain or we come up against Germany, Jordan Henderson on his own in the formation that we're going to see in a second is not going to be enough, and England need to change their tactics accordingly to sort that out. I also think that if and when England get countered, the 1v1 defending of the central defenders is really questionable, especially in the wide areas. Not to mention the weak link that Walker could be if a team decides to target him with a tall, strong, physical target man. So let's have a look at Tunisia then before we get into the England starting 11 that I expect. Tunisia play a back four. It's pretty difficult to find any game footage from when they've played a team that plays a back three, because they really pretty much don't come up against it. The last time they did come up against a team that played a back three was against Costa Rica, and Tunisia won, which doesn't exactly bode well. But what I think you can expect is Tunisia are going to play probably 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, something of that kind of iteration. They have played 4-4-2, but I think they'll go with a lone striker against England, and it might look like a 4-3-3 on paper, but it'll probably be, 4-5-1, 4-2-3-1 with a lone striker or a lone playmaker target man left up to do a bit of attacking on the counter. They like to play narrow. They're going to sit in a low block and they're going to wait for England to lose the ball, and then they're going to try and counter quickly. What you do notice when you watch them is they attack in numbers, but they're not flooding forward. They'll go with 2 or 3 players in support of the guy who's countering, and then when they lose the ball, they will very quickly shrink down into that low block, not really trying to win the ball back in your half. They're going to wait for you to come, and then they're going to deny the space in between the lines, making it really difficult. There's been no 0-0s in this World Cup. If you're a betting man, maybe start looking at England for a 0-0 if it goes wrong in this instance. So the key man is likely to be a guy called Khazri. I think he's likely to be the key man. He's a wide playmaker that could cause us some issues, as could the pace of Naeem Sliti. Both of them play in League One, and both of them know exactly where the net is. Let's talk about England starting 11s, and I'm going to come for some questions in a little bit as well from you guys, so I'm going to check those out in a second. But here's the England team that I think we are likely to see this evening. So as you can see, it's Jordan Pickford in net. He's already pretty much let the cat out of the bag with that one, and I reckon it's going to be Walker, Stones and Maguire as a back three. Now, as I said, I've got defensive worries with all 3 of these guys, but I think from an attacking and a ball playing point of view, they're pretty good and probably the best that we've got. Trippier and Young providing crosses and width in the wide areas. I would have preferred to see Rose over Young. You know the reasons why. Jordan Henderson will be the lone midfielder, and then I expect it's going to be Dele Alli and Lingard tasked with creating in the final third. I reckon Sterling's going to be given a completely free role to go left, to go right, to drop deep, and also to support Harry Kane, and Harry Kane obviously is going to be the focal point of the team going forward. The changes I'd like to see made in this team: I'd like to see Ruben Loftus-Cheek brought in for Dele Alli. I think that England lack a physical presence in midfield, and I think that that's the guy that could do a job. Certainly against teams where we're not expected to have the lion's share of possession, pardon the pun. I definitely think Ruben Loftus-Cheek is the guy that can do that job in that area. I also, as I said, I'd like to see Rose over Young, and I'd also like to see Rashford in there just for pure biased reasons. Right, let's see what you guys are saying in the comments. Refereeing the Sweden game become too reliant on VAR already? I would tend to agree. Obviously, my boy's Korea there on the wrong end of a VAR decision. If you watch Full Time Devils, you know why Korea's my boys. Yeah, everybody like the video if you're enjoying what you're seeing. Our defensive options are shockingly bad, says Ryan. They're not a patch on what we used to have, but it's the midfield that worries me. It really does. I think Jordan Henderson's a good Premier League level player, but that's it. It's a good Premier League level. It's not an elite level, and this is the World Cup. I don't think it gets won by average teams, and I think this England side is a pretty average team, to be honest with you. But the forward line is pretty much a match for any of the teams in the world. It's not embarrassingly dripping with riches like some of the teams, but it's a match. Can this team score goals? Yes, it can score goals. And I think the way that Gareth Southgate's setting them up and the things that he's saying as England manager, they're encouraging. He's saying this is a team that he wants to go out and express themselves. He's saying this is a team that he wants to play without fear. And that can only be a good thing, because that's what England haven't had in recent years. I expect this England team goes out and puts Tunisia away. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be 1-0 or 2-0. I don't expect them to run out, but none of us have expected half the results that we've seen in this World Cup so far. So it could be it could be crazy, and the press will go absolutely bananas. Instead of keeping it calm, you can guarantee that they'll all have the coming home stuff if England manage to put 3 or 4 goals past them. But make no mistake, this Tunisia team is not great. They could easily deny the space, and they could easily make it really difficult for England, but England should get through these. England should be able to put 1 or 2 past these and make it a winning start to the group. Whether or not that happens, I don't know. Sterling missing chances is a big worry for me, says Wingy Media. Sterling's finishing is a bit of a worry. He will get into positions, but I also think he's going to score, you know. Jordan says Sterling and Rashford to score 2-0. I'd prefer Dyer to Henderson, says Simon. The El Salvador ref for Sweden and South Korea was horrible, says Paul. Can't believe Tuanzebe was overlooked for this squad. It's gone a bit far, to be honest. Why no Shelvey? I don't think Shelvey's good enough. And that just shows the fact that the likes of Wilshere and Shelvey, people are questioning why they've not been included in the squad, shows how poor this squad was compared to 10-15 years ago. Dapo says we'll definitely play Eric Dyer against them. Ashley Young is shite, says John. And Jack says England will get to the last 16 and get knocked out by Colombia. I definitely think that they get through the group. After that, I don't know where they go from there. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll be doing a preview before all the England games. And if it's a tactically interesting game, I might do a review afterwards as well. I think I'm going to do a tactical preview of Argentina-Croatia, because I think that's the first big game where I think it could go either way. And I think they've both got really interesting styles of play. So I'm probably going to do that one. But keep it locked. Make sure to come and check out Meat Pie tomorrow night. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you're new around here. And I'll see you in the next one. Laters.